Jeyaretnam, would you please come up to the podium? And now, we would like to request the Honorable Kenneth Jeyaretnam. Is it correct your name? I'm sorry. He is Secretary General of the Reform Party, Singapore. We would like to request you deliver your speech. Thank you.
Selamat petang, everyone. First, I would like to thank the organizers, the chairman, Jose Valencia, the co-chairman and Secretary General Chung Yu-yung, as well as our UMNO hosts, for inviting the Reform Party of Singapore to the 9th General Assembly of the ICAPP. This is a meaningful opportunity for us to engage in a free exchange of views with representatives of political parties from all over Asia. On arrival here, I noticed a protest outside by representatives of Sri Lankan Tamils demanding accountability for their disappeared and war crimes during the genocide. Some ICAPP delegates were later complaining a little about the noise, but if there's one experience I would like to share from Singapore, it is that we in Asia should not be worried by a little noise. In fact, we must embrace it as an example of democracy in practice. Yes, it was a minor nuisance, but as a Singaporean, I was astonished to witness firsthand the freedom of expression and understanding of democracy enjoyed here in Malaysia. Public protests, as you probably know, no matter how peaceful, are illegal in Singapore, which makes it slightly depressing to find the standard response from ICAPP delegates on learning where we are from is to express admiration for Singapore and a desire to emulate us. While as a Singaporean I am justifiably proud of our achievements, what I would like to do today is to warn Asia of the dangers of emulating the so-called Singapore model. The popularity of the model is based on some false assumptions. Singapore did not become a prosperous nation because a despotic leader took away our freedom and exchanged it for prosperity. Much of the growth would have happened anyway, given our unique strategic location controlling the Straits of Malacca and the growth in world trade since the 1960s. Actually, in the 1920s, Singapore was already the richest city in Asia. Nor is the ordinary Singaporean of today markedly better off than his neighbours. A UBS survey of wages and living standards in 2011 found that the purchasing power of the median wage in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur was about the same. Yet you wish to emulate Singapore because you feel freedom is a small price to pay for rapid economic development. Even more dangerously, there are nations who think that suppressing freedom will actually create prosperity. If there is a causal link, then it is the other way around. The building blocks of prosperity are a commitment to upholding rights, democratic norms, a free media, and free and fair elections. I even heard the Indonesian delegate, the Honourable Andreas Pereira from PDIP, say in his speech yesterday that Indonesia has transitioned from dictatorship to democracy and economic growth has not suffered. I must warn you that once you surrender freedom, it is almost impossible to get it back. We have heard much talk over the last 2 days of the century of Asia and the Asian powerhouse. Of course, economic growth is a priority in Asia, and without doubt Asia will have the largest share of global GDP by virtue of the sheer numbers of people. What matters is the quality of that growth, finding new avenues as markets become saturated, and whether we can succeed in raising a majority of people out of poverty and into middle income status. There's also been encouraging consensus on the challenges we face together as a region. Growth without destroying the environment, the rights of women and minorities, the protection of children, human trafficking, and of course the struggle against rising extremism. Whilst we all agree that terrorism is our biggest problem, we must not allow that to be used by authoritarian leaders to entrench themselves in power at the expense of a people. Asia needs to reach a consensus, but oppressing liberty is not the solution to the terror threat, and in the face of this challenge we must not throw out rule of law and do away with democratic norms. Without these norms, we are likely to become a more unstable society where extremism takes hold more rapidly, as happened in Syria. Our best defense against extremism is genuine democracy. So in conclusion, I would urge you all to think very carefully before you emulate Singapore and decide to travel down the authoritarian road. Instead of exchanging prosperity for freedom, you will find yourself ending up with neither. However, if we exchange authoritarianism for democracy, we could all end up with both. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Jeyaretnam. Honorable Rinjin Yamtisho